Hey guys, it's time for 5 Minute Friday. I'm Randi Porter. Today is Psalm 62. Before I get started, I have a question. Is it relatable, maybe, that you read these words and you're like, David, you lived a really different life. I mean, these are great words, but I don't know how to live them out, right? I don't know how to apply them. Well, I don't ever want to apply God's word to me or mold God to me. I really want to be molding myself to God's word, but I digress. So how do we live out these words? I mean, they're really great. About him being our rock, our salvation, our stronghold. But what does that mean? How do we live that out? That's what I'm hoping to cover. I'm not going to read every verse. I only have 5 minutes. So let's get started. In verse 1, I am at rest in God alone. My salvation comes from him. Fun fact, every salvation in this psalm is the word Yeshua. Interesting. I love doing that. Okay, so he alone is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I will never be shaken. Go to 5. Rest in God alone, my soul, for my hope comes from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my stronghold. I will not be shaken. He repeats himself. Must be important. So, I submit that this is perspective. How do we live this out? By knowing who God is and being able to truly rest in him and give him control of things that we like to control. So being at rest means really not being in turmoil. Okay. Because, and it shows, if our rest, if our dependence, our trust is in having things, okay, and all the things have to work at the same time and be just right for us to be able to rest, that sounds like chaos, right? It doesn't feel like that would happen very often. Or if our trust is in having enough money and all the bills are paid, right? Not that we don't want those things. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if our being is wrapped up in that happening, life might be really hard and we might be really stressed out a lot, which would then get us sick, which would not have good consequences. Or if we say, I trust in God. He has a plan for my life. And even when I, can screw it up, he can always redeem or make things good, like Romans 8:28, and because we are called according to his purpose, right? So he has the ability. My life is in his hands. And if I have that perspective, when those things aren't working, when money is tight or something's going wrong, yes, it's not fun, but at my core, I can rest that God is God of all creation and has got this. And I can give him those things, those worries of my heart. I can pour them out to him, right? And truly be at rest, even when there's, on inside, when everything's going weird on the outside. So I think that's a perspective thing, and how if we have that perspective, when we are getting wrapped up in things, like verse 5, he says, rest in God alone, my soul. He has to tell himself. And do you relate to that? I do, where sometimes there's things I'm trying to do and I just can't seem to get them done. Or there's things I'm trying not to do, bad habits I'm trying to get rid of, and man, I keep doing them. So even David is telling himself, he has a flesh, he's telling his soul, you will rest in God. So if his emotions are getting all wrapped up in things, then he still tells himself what he is going to do with the truth of God's word. And so when that happens, we can affirm to ourselves, no, I am not going to be wrapped up because of this. I'm going to trust in God. And then go down into where it says, verse 7, my salvation and glory depend on God. My strong rock, my refuge is in God. Trust in him at all times, you people. Pour out your hearts before him. God is our refuge. So he's telling himself and others, this is what we're going to do, but also pour out your hearts to him. Isn't that cool that we can do that? That the God of all creation lets us pray? It's the talking portion of the greatest love story of our lives. We get to pour out all these things that would keep us from having rest to him, right? And give them to him and talk to him about it and go back and forth and then be still and listen. And let that be the dance of our lives rather than turmoil, because nothing ever goes right completely. Or if it did, it's very rare. And so that plus having the perspective that men are only a vapor. Exalted men, an illusion. You add them all up and they're less than a vapor, right? So quit putting so much pressure on what man says or what, all the things, and rest in God. Then also at the end, it says, faithful love belongs to you, Yahweh, for you repay each according to his works. Now, if that's the case, then we need to be walking this out and not just saying, oh, I have faith in God. No, see, faith will produce works. It's a lot like James 2:20, right? Where he's saying, are you willing to learn that faith without works is useless? And then he talks about Abraham and what he did, because we know Abraham was declared righteous because of his faith. But it says, you see, that faith was active together with his works. And by works, faith was perfected. So if we're not willing to live it out, it can't be perfected. Man, such good stuff. I hope you'll go back and read it. That's what I have. And if you have any more, I hope that you'll comment down below. Always remember, you've got friends at Messiah, Texas.